Timeline. The recorded history of Westeros extends back over 12,000 years, according to tradition, though the accuracy of the legends and myths that recount much of this history is openly questioned by the maesters of the Citadel, amongst others. As with real-life medieval cultures, the people who inhabit the known world in which the continents of Westeros, Essos, and Sithorios are located do not possess objective knowledge about how their world was created. This is in contrast with J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth legendarium, in which characters actually did meet their gods or angelic beings and knew the full history of their world. In the fantasy world in which Westeros is set, civilization just gradually coalesced from the hunter-gatherer level, as in real life. Many different cultures have their own theories about how the world began and how the human race came to be, usually tied to which religion they practice. Different religions offer drastically different theories on how the world was created. Even more simple, cultural traditions and oral histories have much to say on the subject but no hard evidence. Some of these oral traditions are known to be simply inaccurate. The Dothraki believe that the first man came into being 1,000 years ago, when even the written histories of other continuous civilizations stretch back 5,000 to 6,000 years. The earliest written histories date back to about 6,000 years ago, when the Undulls first introduced writing to Westeros. The first men had no writing system more advanced than runes for marking graves, thus all history before 6,000 years ago relies on oral tradition. Many of the events before 6,000 years ago in Westeros, during the Age of Heroes, are half-legendary, and some of the more fanciful tales of these times probably have little basis in reality. Still, all legends and oral histories may have some kernel of truth behind them. Written histories in Essos from the great civilizations of Valyria and Guise also date back roughly 5,000 to 6,000 years. Even so, this is about twice as long as the continuous written historical record that exists in our real-life world, our equivalent being if written history were extended unbroken back to the construction of the first ziggurat in ancient Sumeria. Oral tradition extends back twice that long. A major issue, pointed out by author George R.R. Martin himself, is that as the saying goes, history tends to be written by the victors. Just as in real life, the inhabitants of Westeros during the time frame of the TV series do not possess an objective record of history. History tends to be more accurate the closer it is to the present, but largely in the sense that fables and half-myths tend no longer to be included. All history books display the biases of their authors to some degree. The oldest written histories in Westeros were made by the Undull invaders, and they depicted themselves in a positive light as they killed or conquered the first men of the south. The Northerners, descended from the first men who were never conquered by the Undulls, have a decidedly negative view of the Undull invasions. The dating system is based on the War of Conquest. Thus all dates are BC 4 before conquest or AC 4 after conquest. In the books, measuring time. At the time of the novels, Westeros has been using a calendar system based on the year of Aegon's landing, which occurred 3 centuries before. As explained above, calling it Aegon's Landing, AL, is somewhat anachronistic given that the landing happened at the beginning of the conquest but the calendar system only begins 2 years later, at the end of the conquest. More recent in-universe historical texts have been shifting to the alternate name, after conquest, AC. The difference is purely one of nomenclature. The year 298 AL and the year 298 AC are exactly the same. The known world that Westeros and Essos are set in has variable seasons that can last for years, sometimes a decade each, though such long seasons only come once every century or two. On the average, it seems that one season can last for about 2 to 3 years or so, the full 4-season cycle therefore taking about a decade. There are hints that the seasons may not always have been this way. Characters still define a year as a 12-month period, not a full cycle of summer to winter. Months are the same as in real life, roughly a 30-day period. The term moon turn is commonly used for month. Apparently Westeros doesn't actually have specific names for each month/moon turn, given that even after 5 novels a month name has never been mentioned, and the actual month names stem from real-life history, i.e., July and August were named after Roman emperors. When the in-universe history text from the novellas about the Dance of the Dragons gives specific dates, they are usually just in the format, on the 5th day of the 3rd moon of the year 131 AL, etc. While they seem to just refer to each month by number, keep in mind that this is essentially what the real-life Gregorian calendar does, inherited from the Romans, and their names often just stem from Latin numbers. September Ember is the 7th month, October Ober is the 8th month, etc. Westeros also doesn't use an o'clock system of measuring hours in a day. They also don't have mechanical clocks. Not every culture throughout real-life history has measured the first hour of a given day starting at midnight, the exact opposite of noon. Some start at sunrise, others at sunset. It isn't clear at what hour one day officially becomes the next in Westeros, though given that they are an agrarian society, they probably measure by each sunrise. Each day apparently consists of a 24-hour period, simply so that Martin would not confuse readers when he referred to a certain amount of hours in the narrative. People in Westeros apparently just apply colloquial names to each hour of the day, i.e., the hour of the wolf is the darkest time in the middle of the night. A few other hour names have been mentioned in passing. The hour of the bat, apparently fairly late after sunset, if not the deep night. The hour of the eel immediately follows the hour of the bat. The hour of ghosts immediately follows the hour of the eel. The hour of the owl comes several hours after the hour of the bat, but still before dawn. Its exact position is unclear. The hour of the wolf, the darkest part of night, coming after the hour of the owl. In real life, the hour of the wolf is typically considered to be loosely some point between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. The hour of the nightingale comes after the hour of the wolf. Book timeline. The events in the book series are faster paced than in Game of Thrones. The series was adapted from the books broadly based on the following structure. Season 1 covers the events of the first book, A Game of Thrones. Season 2 covers the events of the second book, A Clash of Kings. Seasons 3 and 4 cover the events of the third book, A Storm of Swords. Season 5 covers the events from the fourth and fifth books, A Feast for Crows and A Dance of Dragons. Season 6 covers events from the outline of the forthcoming sixth book, The Winds of Winter. Seasons 7 and 8 cover events from the outline of the forthcoming seventh book, A Dream of Spring. In the book series, the date at the end of A Dance of Dragons is sometime late in the year 300 AC, but the events, Stannis soon to battle the Boltons, Cersei recently having had her Walk of Atonement, Meereen being under siege from the Slavers, correspond to Season 5 and 6 in the TV series, calculated to be years 302 and 303 AC, per above. This is partly because one book does not correspond to a year, and partly because of the decision to split the content of the third book, A Storm of Swords, into 2 TV seasons rather than one, as had been done for previous books. If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.